Hi folks, I've taken a trip today up to sunny Lincolnshire to Holbeach Motorcycle Tyres, where I'm going to get some new rubber fitted to the Africa Twin. So let's get inside and take a look. Good morning. Okay, so the new tyres are on, and as you already knew, I'd gone for a set of the Dunlop Raids. I think it's the third set I've had on there now, and I absolutely love them. It's quite windy today, so apologies if the audio is a little bit cluttered. I've just got a new setup on here. I've not done anything on this helmet before, and I'm using this on a trip, so I had to get this tested out, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to do that. But I thought just to give an opportunity to talk a little bit about the tyres. As I say, 3 sets in. First set on this bike, obviously. Now, as I'd mentioned in my video when I talked about this bike, I am predominantly going to be riding on road. So why did I go for the Raids, the 50/50s? Why not put the Meridians on? The reason I did put these on is that I found in the time that I've been riding them, I didn't really find them to be a massive compromise on the road. If I'd gone with the Meridians, yeah, I probably could have still been quite happily sort of bashing out, you know, flat level gravel roads. But I've noticed that even on roads like this is a pretty rough road, loose surfaces here and there. The Raids just give me that little bit more confidence, that little bit more bite when it gets like this. And I spend a lot of time riding on this sort of stuff. And I just found that the Raids weren't a compromise. They're good in the wet, they're good on the tarmac. Okay, you can't push them as hard as you could with a road tyre in certain circumstances. On dry roads like this, they're fine. You can actually push them relatively hard. I'm not going to at the moment because they're brand new tyres, obviously. Although it is dry, I'm still going to take it relatively easy initially. But there are obviously occasions where I'm out riding in countryside like this and I'll find a gravel trail, and if it's a trail I don't know and I don't know what to expect, again there's confidence in those tyres that I wouldn't necessarily have on a more road biased version. And I'll be honest, that's what a lot of this is about. It is about confidence, and that's can be psychological. If I feel actually I've got a little bit more grip, I know if things get a little bit loose, if there's some stuff on the road, I've got a good chance of these getting some bites from the corners of the blocks, as opposed to a smoother tyre that's just going to skate over the top of it. If you followed the channel, you would see that last summer I attended the Honda Adventure Centre and I did the 2-day course, and that involved bits of tarmac to get between the various sites, but we rode on mud through bogs. We had dry, loose shale, we had gravel, we had dirt, we had grass, and the guys there are using these tyres because they see them as a perfect tyre for these sort of bikes on those sort of terrains. You're unlikely to be taking a big Africa Twin to the sort of terrain where enduro tyres or really knobbly tyres are going to be what you need, and they can be a little bit of a compromise everywhere else. In actual fact, when we did the course, there were 2 guys riding CRF 300s. They had full on, I think, D908s, and on the dirt they were fine, but when we did some of the road sections they were complaining a little bit about those tyres. And it did start to rain as we got back to the centre, and they were having to be a little bit more careful. So for me, a really good compromise, but I'm not giving anything up. I don't feel that I have to ride the bike slower than I would do in normal circumstances because I've got these tyres on. People will say they're noisy, and I have to disagree. I had a bit of a back and forth with somebody in the comments who said the roar is unbelievable, they're the noisiest tyres they've ever had. I don't know what tyre pressures they were running them at. You can feel it a little bit, you can just feel a little bit of that roughness, and maybe they're slightly noisier than a standard road tyre. This road surface here, about 50 miles an hour, I can just hear a little bit of a buzz from those tyres. I wouldn't say it's loud, I can hear them compared to the Bridgestones that was on there, but again, I've only done, I don't know, 5 or 6 miles on these so far. Once they get bedded in and scrubbed in, they tend to get a little bit quieter. I always wear my Ultimate earplugs, so I don't really pick up on that. But I rode up here about 140 miles for me to get from home to Holbeach, and I had these stock Bridgestone A41s, I think they are. I've now jumped from those to these, which, as you can see, are a much more aggressive tread. The bike doesn't feel any different. I'm not going along going, oh, dum, 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 dum. I'm riding on a really knobbly tyre. Doesn't notice any difference in the ride quality. They're also good in the wet on tarmac. That surprised me just how good they are. I'll just slow down here because of that horse. Where I was at, yes, in the wet, really good on tarmac in the wet. On dry tarmac like this, once you've got them scrubbed in, you can pretty much ride how you want. On the wet tarmac, surprisingly good, although you do obviously have to be a little bit more cognizant of exactly what tyres you've got on the bike. On the dirt, they're going to be as much as I will ever need. I won't, on this bike probably, I'm not going to get into any circumstances where these have a problem. The only real issue that we've ever had, and indeed talking to the guys at the Adventure Centre, is when you get really claggy, clayey mud, they can fill up quite quickly. But, you know, give it a handful on the rear, you can fling a lot of that off. But that's the only time where you start to see the limitations of them. But for big adventure bikes like this, I think they're perfect. If you want to do some touring and you're also going to be venturing away from the tarmac, proportions of that, these are a perfect compromise. I kind of feel like I'm overselling it, but it's not. Genuinely, I was very surprised. I had the Meridians on my KTM 790 Adventure. I did my trip to Poland on those. I had some horrendous weather and they were brilliant, really nice. But I also had an issue where, following the sat-nav, trying to get around a road closure, it took me on what it said was a check road, which turned out to be a dirt track that run up into a field. Fully laden with luggage as I was, and those tyres, it got there but it was struggling, and I had to kind of abandon the route that it picked for me and go back the other way, because I knew if it got any worse, you know, the first bit of real mud that I came across, I've got no traction, I'm not going to get it out of it. So for me, these are perfect. The only downside of these tyres really is the longevity. You're looking at, if you do predominantly road with some off-road, sort of 4,000 miles, 5,000 miles, you're going to start be looking at a new rear. I changed the rear on one set, left the front, and the front then started to go an odd shape on the knobbles on the centre after about 6,500 miles. So yeah, you haven't got the longevity in them. If you're doing loads of mileage, it's going to be more expensive to keep changing the tyres. But outside of that, I have no qualms about these tyres. I have no qualms in recommending them. And actually, it's the first time I've seen, apart from on the Honda website, one of the new Africa Twins with a non-road tyre on the front, and I think it looks excellent. But I know looks are not important, but it really does look the business with these on. I just wanted to keep this short, just to reiterate the experience I've had with these tyres. If you've not tried them and you want to try them, then there could be an opportunity. Whole Beach Tyres, the guys that have just fitted these for me, they're going to be at the ABR Festival with Dunlop, so you're going to have the opportunity, if you want to try them, you can buy your tyres, pre-book a slot, ride your bike there, they will fit the tyres to your bike. You can ride the trails. If you decide that you'd rather stick to your road tyres to road home, then they'll happily swap back to your normal tyres as long as you book it in. But obviously it's not a trial for the tyres, you have to buy the tyres. The My Route app, which I'm using on the Carplay, has picked me a lovely route cross country here. I'm thinking about making a video showing initially how to connect your phone and your comms unit up to the Honda, but also the beauty of using this Bluetooth is that just makes things so much easier. I can now utilize CarPlay for navigation without having to have a comms unit connected. As you can see, there's no comms unit on this helmet, but I'm using CarPlay and I've got My Route app in there that's doing its stuff, and so far it has been faultless, so much easier. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that sort of thing. If you're riding Africa Twin and you've been struggling with it, let me know if you'd like a run through of what I do. I'm not going to say this is the way to do it, but it's what I've done and it's what seems to be working. So let me know. I think that's it really. If you've got any questions, anything you'd like to know, then let me know in the comment section down below. But outside of that, I'm going to make the most of this beautiful weather, these lovely country lanes. And until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.